Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to be learning about how to use a new library, for our video series here called Bokeh, which is a data visualization library within Python or using Python. And so with Bokeh, it's similar to other ways of displaying data for visualization purposes, but what is unique is that it allows you some interactive capabilities that are already built in. You can also modify these and use them as you so desire. It's similar to Altair. I personally consider Altair to be easier to use, but Bokeh has its own purpose, and there are, of course, naturally situations in which it is beneficial. So we're going to go ahead and learn how to make a scatter plot here. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. All right, so you see we got three parts to our experience today. We're going to be loading our libraries first, then we're going to prepare our data, and then lastly, we're going to set up our scatter plot. So here is the code, for our libraries. We're going to start by loading PyDataset, and we're going to import the specific function called data. PyDataset has a lot of different little small data sets inside it that you can use to practice and manipulate the code for whatever purposes you have. It's one of my favorite libraries. I think there's about 700 different data sets inside this particular library. Very, very useful. So in the second line, we're going to be importing Panda. We might not use that too much in this video, but it's going to be useful when we need to manipulate data in future videos. In line number 3 right here, we're going to be importing, from Bokeh.plotting figure. This will allow us to set up our X and Y axes, add the dots to the scatter plot, etc. And then in our last line, we're going to be importing stuff from Bokeh.io, which is the output file, which will actually make the HTML file, and the show function, which of course will allow us to show our data, our data visualization, So let's go ahead and move to data preparation. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the data function to, be able to manipulate or use the Duncan data set from PyDataset. And so we're going to call this particular data set df, which is short for data frame, and we're going to display it in the second line using the head function. So go ahead. You can see that. So we have 4 columns here: type, income, education, and prestige. These are all different metrics, and we're going to make our scatter plot where we're going to try to track the relationship between education and income. That's what we're doing in this video. Now we're going to go ahead and set up our actual scatter plot. The code here is pretty simple, at least by Python standards. So first here in this second line, we're going to create our figure. We're going to call it fig. Then we're going to use the figure function, and we're going to label our x axes and our y axes. So x axis is going to be education, and then y axis is going to be income. So that's how we label our axes. Next, we're going to use the fig in the dot circle here. I believe that's a method. And what we're doing here is this is where we actually add the dots to the actual scatter plot, if you will. So on the x-axis, we're going to be tracking education. Of course, this is how you subset it. I'm sure you're familiar with basic Python coding. And then on the y-axis, we're going to be using income. In the second to last line, we're going to be using the function called output_file to create our file. And that's going to be called my_first_plot.html. This will actually make the file, and it will be saved to your working directory. And then lastly, we are going to use the show function to show our fig. And our fig is a combination of these 2 lines of code right here. So having said all that, let's see what happens. All right. So you can clearly see our scatter plot here, nice and big and beautiful. And so you can see education is clearly here on the x-axis. We created this in our first line of code, if you will. Then over here is income on the y-axis. We also made that. And you can see here that I can move things around. This is one of the unique features of Bokeh. I can move things up and down like this. That was the pan function up here to the right. You can see that. These are all the different, what do you call these? The default interactive functions or interactive options, excuse me. Now for the second one right here, this is going to be the box zoom. So I can click and highlight an area and I will zoom in to that specific area that I highlighted. The third one down, or I guess you could say the fourth one, is what is this called? Oh, the wheel zoom. So this allows me to use the wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out like this. I can also save if I desire. And then of course, if I want to reset it, I can just click right here on the circle and then I'm back to the original. This one at the top will take you to the Bokeh website. And the one at the bottom, the question mark, will allow you to learn more about how to plot things. So it kind of takes you to another website basically. And so we're going to learn more about how to manipulate these interactive options over here. We're going to learn a lot more about, how to plot several different pieces of data at once, how to highlight things, how to make titles, etc. There's way more to this than what we have experienced so far. And we're really going to get a stronger idea of the power of using Bokeh. Again, this is one of many options. We all have our preference. And I just want to expose you to what this particular one is capable of. So I want to thank you once again for listening. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you again for watching and take care.